let's call the meeting to order at, let's see, 7:03. And Tanya, you're just joining. We haven't discussed anything besides just some operational stuff around minutes keeping, which I updated Brad on as far as how I'm doing this one and how I did the last one. Okay, so meeting's called to order of the May meeting of the Bristol Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. First item on the agenda tonight is, of course, review and approval of the April 24th, 2025 meeting minutes. Before I ask for a motion, I'll just note that last month, just as a reminder, we moved everything over into G Drive. I'm still on my end getting a little bit used to just some of the operationalizing of that move between the templates that we've brought over. I think I've got it pretty dialed as far as some of the files that we're keeping as Microsoft Word templates because those were set up by the town itself, and I'm not going to bother trying to translate those over into GDocs, even though they're being stored on G Drive. If anybody has any questions about that, you can bring them up now or we can talk about them offline. After this meeting, per Brad, I'm going to send around a note to everyone asking if anybody's interested in moving the meeting to Tuesday nights. Brad said that that will actually work a little bit better for him, so I appreciate him actually bringing that up proactively. I'll send a note about that as well as a link to a reminder link to the G Drive, which everyone on the board has edit access to. The public has just kind of they have viewing permissions only. Oh, Sally's coming in. Awesome. Hi, Sally.
Hi,
We're just getting into things here. So I'm asking for a an approval of or approval or any comments on the April 24th, 2025 meeting minutes right now. And I'll also note that that document includes a link to both the recording of the last meeting as well as a word by word transcript of the meeting. So the while the meeting minutes aren't completely redundant, there is a link to the text of the entire conversation. So between those two things, there's a permanent, or three things, because there's the link to the video of it. There's permanent record there of the thing. And I think Brad will do that moving forward, is we'll have the links to both of those things in the meeting minutes. So there's a backstop for anything that's not actually captured in the meeting minutes, linked from the actual meeting minutes. So all that said, a motion to approve the April 24th meeting minutes, unless anybody has anything that they want added or amended to it.
I motion to approve.
And can I get a second?
I'll second.
I'll second that.
Great, thank you. Okay, so now we are in the public forum part, and for once we have a rare occasion where there's no public, both in general and after there was a lot of chatter. I don't know if anybody saw starting to brew on Front Porch Forum, and our sponsor Jess Teets even reposted our meeting to encourage people to attend. Since we have no public on the call right now, I'm going to move forward into our other ones. We've obviously got space carved out at the very end if there's business amongst us that we want to talk about. But the next one on the list is grants. I do have additional lists and grants that have come into the inbox. Sally, you might have seen at least one of these. There was a grant that just came up, I think last week. The deadline for it is July. I will forward that to everybody in the email that I'll send afterwards. There's also a longer list of available grants. I don't know if that list, based on what's happening in the nation's capital, is being kept up to date, but it was up to date as of April when I last checked it. So I will include information on those grants in the follow-up email from after today. If we don't have anything, and as a note, like as of tonight, like as an example, we've got quorum. So if we wanted to vote on anything additional, we could do that. We've already got our stuff prepared for the grants and all that stuff. I don't know if anybody has anything else to add. I will note that one of the items that we've talked about in the past, which is bike racks. I've noted a new bike rack at I believe it was the hub that I hadn't seen previously. So I'm going to update our bike rack list audit there. But that's the only thing that I had beyond just the new stuff that's come into the inbox. Anybody else have anything on grants? All right, then we're going to move forward into initiatives. Again, I mentioned what was going on Front Porch Forum about the 25-mile-an-hour village speed limit. To bring everybody up to date from a few years ago, the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit was something that we were kind of chartered with discussing and checking the pulse of and then signing off on. We obviously voted to approve, a suggestion for that. I'm going to reach out. I was hoping Jess would be on this call, but I think she has another meeting at this time. But I'm going to reach out to Jess and just ask her what next steps should be based on her engagement with the Front Porch Forum stuff. I continue to maintain that we've been given multiple kind of contradicting rules around lowering the speed limit. I don't know that that was what was responsible for the select board sort of parking it 2 years ago. But I do believe that there's at least some degree of or desire to see it move through. One of the things that I was wondering about, and I need to ask all of you if you can recall who it was. Dustin, I don't know if it was you or Kevin, but somebody on a previous call, maybe 5 months ago, had mentioned, and I can't remember if it was in relation to the stop sign thing or the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. But one of the constituents had pulled somebody aside and voiced their vehement opposition to it. And it was a member of, I believe it was a member of the fire department that did this. Dustin, was that you or was it Kevin? I can't recall.
I don't think it was me.
Okay.
That was in regards to the stop signs
That was in regards to the stop signs. Okay.
on Pine Street.
Okay, I wasn't 100% clear. I know that when we had originally presented a year and a half ago at the select board to the select board, there was a voice or two that was kind of poo-pooing the whole thing, and I think that backed. There was less of an appetite to see it through at that point in time, but now I think there's much more of one. But I want to check with Jess about that and just see, if there's more we can do than simply what we've done, which is obviously to voice our support of that.
Did you all see the Front Porch Forum post either yesterday or the day before, maybe even this morning? No, a couple days ago, maybe. Catherine Finale put in a real plug for 25 miles per hour.
Yeah, that's what this is in relation to. And
Oh, okay.
and tonight, Sally, Jess Teets had reposted our agenda and said, if you want to come and talk about 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, get on this call. And that's why I'm surprised that
Okay.
that there isn't more public here tonight.
Yeah.
Because it started, I think that hers was the second post about it.
Okay.
And again, I've gone through the state DOT laws and tried to find what we were told was sort of a warning about changing the village speed limits about how you can change it, but you can't enforce it for 5 years or some arbitrary amount of time. And the challenge that I've been finding is, and I think Ian has coached us on this before, is people are taking something that applies only to state roads, and they're saying that applies to the village as a whole. The problem is that you can't find the absence of a law somewhere written. Like you can't find the thing that says this only applies to this. So that's why I just want to get a hold of Jess and say, hey, look, these are the things that we've been told. Who's the point of truth on this? And is it something that, because certainly Locomotion has reached out before and said, is there anything that we can do to help, whether it's gauge interest in this or um, help with change management around it or anything like that. But obviously, like anybody that any of us, I assume, whenever we're in the village, we're looking at our speedometers and saying like 30's fast if you're on a street with a stop sign on it in the village. And 30's certainly very fast on going through the core Bristol core. So anyway. Does anybody have any new initiatives as you've been out there in the world, cruising around, visiting places or anything like that? I've got a couple things to share, which I'll put just some links to articles, but they're not really initiative related. They're more like in support of safer streets and things like that. But does anybody have any things that they've seen out there in the world, or even just in town, that it's like another hot spot like Mountain Street or anything like that, or Airport Road or anything? Does anybody have anything like that they'd like to share?
This might be more of amusing. I don't know that a question. The Sometimes when I'm in older neighborhoods with like more developed like tree canopies and stuff like that, like I'm just curious. I feel like I always slow down. Like it feels a little bit more like not a place to go flying through. And I'm just curious if like uh there could be a connection between some of the trees that are getting planted here in town and like what that means for traffic or how motorists kind of respond to that. A bit of a harebrained idea. I realize it's a little bit fringe and out there, but just the connection that I was making for myself and was curious if anyone felt similar.
Anyone else have any comments on that? I have one, but I don't want to. When I was going down Moncton Road the other day, which is not a slow road, obviously, I noticed that there was a tree that was low enough for the trucks to hit, and the trucks had carved out a nice cave through it as I was driving under it. It was out near Bristol Pond. Um, I'll note, Brad, I don't know on your end of town, but over here, I will note that that the the trees that are being planted over here seem like they're kind of spaced in that kind of green belty zone. So that's pretty close to the road, which I think would support what you're talking about.
And I don't know that it would have an impact on traffic, but yeah, I'm just curious if that could help, just like help people intuitively slow down without being, I don't know, just an idea. But obviously it's going to take like 20, 30 years to even know if that has an impact. So.
That's true. I wonder if there's we were in, I think, Burlington or somewhere the other day, and my son asked us about what speed bumps were for, or what was a speed bump effectively. And and just the difference between like an active and a passive, active and passive efforts or methods to slow traffic down. And because Burlington has put in those speed tables at this point in some areas, those full blown like intersection level speed tables in combination, obviously, with other traffic calming, including advisory lanes and things of that nature. Another thing that I've noticed, and we haven't, I don't know, we can ask about this, but I don't know. We'll ask Ian and Jess what the plan is for more sidewalk repairs. We helped out with that effort from Middlebury College two seasons ago, two years ago, to audit all of the sidewalks for potential repairs and sort of a triage of which ones needed repairs first and most. But I don't know that there's been any actual repairs or anything's been sent out to bid since then. I do know that some of the sidewalks that really weren't in rough shape 2 years ago are actually suddenly showing their age. And I'll also note that some of the streets are pretty beat up now. There's sections, at least on Pleasant Street, that are much worse for the wear now, and I know some of the more side streets are like that. Brad, obviously you've got the newest street in town, but I know some of the other streets, at least in the village, are pretty rough. And as one of the people who was here from the public last week said, some of the town roads are pretty bumpy too. Sally?
I think I heard something about a plan for West Street, a sidewalk repair. Or someone is putting out some sort of design ask to really do a good job with designing walkable sidewalk on West Street. That's just the last thing I heard somewhere.
I wonder I wonder if that's going to extend down West Street, or if it's
I don't think down. I think just
just fix what's there.
yeah, and I forgot what road to what, but like in front of Martin's or in front of
Oh,
all through there. Maybe in
I-
front of the Thads and stuff, somehow making that more walkable friendly or something.
I wonder if it's the stretch from Maple to Munsell,
Yes,
because that's at grade. There's no rise there. There's no real protection there. And there's also issues. The convenience store there is obviously a bit of a hot spot. I didn't see that. I'll make a note to ask about that.
There was also
Um,
I think in front of Martin's, part of the road eroded underneath the pavement, or at least alongside just this week. So
yeah,
I wonder if that could be an opportunity to fix that and get us done.
yeah. I'll ask Brad. I'll put a note in here to ask our select board advisors about what's going on there. I went and checked out the repairs to the bank, to the embankment that had slipped. And I think I did that yesterday, and I wasn't quite sure if they were done with it or if there was more to be done there, but I'll ask them about West Bank collapse.
I would say, I mean, I walk and run in the village quite a bit. The West Street sidewalk really is one of the better ones that I feel. Like North Street is actually, I mean, it's okay kind of for walking, but like especially like at night, um, like I just run down the shoulder of the road because it's very uneven. It's all cracked up, like block to block. It's pretty uneven, and the light, the street lights shine to the street. It's dark on the sidewalk, so when you're trying to like run that at nighttime, you can't really do it without catching your toe and falling on your face.
That's a fascinating point. I never thought about the difference between running and jogging, or running and walking, relative to sidewalk quality. I just made a specific note about that. Um,
I, I,
Dustin, do you use the BTN when you run?
Sometimes I mostly run on the roads.
Okay.
In the village, but yeah, I really do. Other than West Street, there's a portion of Mountain Street that's a little newer. Other than those two stretches of sidewalk, I mostly stay on the shoulder of the road because it is very uneven.
Yeah.
And if you're doing it early in the morning or late in the evening, it's not well lit. It's better lit in the street as well,
Yeah.
where there are street lights.
Yeah, I tend to stay in the street at night too because of the street lights.
Got it. Good to know. Just making notes.
I will say too, now that we've progressed to the stroller stage, I'm much more acutely aware of the quality of the sidewalks than ever before. And there's certainly that patch of Garfield closest to Mountain is like pretty much at this point completely disintegrated.
Hold on 1 second, Brad. I'm going to ask you to repeat one part of that. Um, which street, Brad?
Sorry about that. Garfield Street.
Garfield.
Yeah, and it's so if you're facing Mountain Street while on Garfield, it's the left section of the sidewalk, nearest the intersection of Mountain Street. It's pretty much disintegrated to nothing.
Got it. Okay. I just noted that. Yeah, because like I said, I cannot recall any more sidewalk repair having gone on in the wake of the audit, and now I feel like there are sidewalks that are in need of repair that probably weren't really showing much wear back when the Middlebury gang did their thing. So I'll actually that's one for Ian, because I think Valerie was the one that was championing or really managing that whole project. I'll do it in a way that doesn't swamp Ian though, because I know that he is he's realizing what kind of a superhero Valerie was, now that he's doing her job in the interim. Sally, did you have anything to add on the sidewalk thing? I saw you pop up on camera for a second.
No,
Okay, got it. And when I send the next note, I'll note just regarding initiatives, just keep your eyes open when you're out there and just anything you see, and think about, we can certainly add it to the list, especially long term. I will note, that I did not go to the most recent rec club meeting, so I don't have an update. I don't have a recent update on the Johnson Woods project, and how it would impact all of this, or how, further partnership with that. But I will make a point of attending the next one, and I'll actually reach out to a couple of people there just to get an update. I actually saw Meredith yesterday, but I didn't, or 2 days ago, but I did not ask her about it. Okay, then if nobody else has anything else for initiatives, we can move on to other business. This is, I guess, the public forum of for the group here. Does anybody else have anything for this month? All right. I have a long list of things to send to everybody in an email. Like I said, there's going to be a mix of some articles that I've seen. They're more they're the kind of articles that support what we're doing greatly. That doesn't make them easy reads because it talks about obviously unsafe issues for pedestrians and bicyclists. But those will be mixed in with a variety of other things that we talked about at the front, as well as a link to our new share drive, just to remind everybody where it is. You'll obviously, everybody's on the call here except for Kevin this month, and he I think noted last time that he might not be able to make this meeting. Just a question for everybody: did you all use the link that I put in the email to get on the call tonight, or did you use a different link?
Email.
email.
Yep, I use that.
Yeah, email.
Okay, cool. That's the link. I will send it again before every call, but that's the original link that Ian set up 4 years ago or whatever it is, or maybe I'm not sure who ended up setting it up. That is the OG link. That's the one you can bookmark. But that's the one I'm going to send moving forward. And in the Front Porch Forum post that I did for the meeting, where you can include a URL. I actually included the long tail URL, not just the bit.ly URL that we put in the body of the body of the post. So that's the one that I'll make sure I send a day or two beforehand, for every meeting then. Okay, so with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I move.
I'll second.
Adjourn. Sally and Brad, we're gonna note that at 7:28 p.m. And with that, everybody, good seeing you. Thank you all for showing up. Appreciate it. And look for an email in the next day or two.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye-bye.